What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Stokastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. Last night, 5-game slate. We had 3 late games. I fell asleep long before the late games, but it looked like I think you needed Colorado last night. I know Dallas scored a bunch, but it really wasn't the big boys, so you definitely needed Colorado 1. It's kind of similar here tonight. Like, I know there's 11 games to 5, but the 3 late games are just absolute power play havens. So they're probably kind of important. Helping me to break it down, Tupac himself, he's still alive. Some Clifford, what's going on?
Yeah, not a whole lot. I was just looking at the top of the $12 last night. Landeskog was a big one. He had 32 points. Cale Makar had a good game. I think first place had some sort of Columbus stack. Marchenko obviously had a massive game, including the overtime winner. Rangers came back from 4-0 in the third period, only to lose in overtime, get that unnecessary point to ensure a worse draft position. It's actually kind of funny. Last night was last night. Tonight,
Gabriel Pro, though, at least doing some work.
It's good for him. You'll have Noah Laba to play with for a while. 11 games tonight. It's not a ton of news. There's a few couple players out with injury that are pretty important. Couple teams with different lines, especially from important teams. But honestly, for an 11-game slate, not really a whole lot that is too important. Now, we do have some back-to-back teams. Nashville played yesterday afternoon, and they're playing here. They're in Columbus. Columbus obviously played yesterday, so always stuff to watch out for, but looks like pretty smooth sailing for an 11-game slate 3 days ahead of the trade deadline.
Yeah, that should be awesome. Listen, the Rangers should just trade everyone possible besides Igor. But that's neither here nor there. Before we get into this slate, as you know, NHL Sims have been live, I think, for about a week now. We have a flash sale for you. Here we go. It's only valid today. So if you aren't a member and you do want to try it, you can try it for $7 for 7 days at stokastic.com/pricing. Use the promo code NHLSIMS7. That tracks our signups directly. It supports us directly, and it lets you try out the NHL Sims for a week for 7 of your hard-earned dollars. We do appreciate your support, and, where else can you try NHL Sims for $7 for a week? Nowhere, maybe in an alternate universe in Uzbekistan or something, but I am not as smart as Elon Musk, so I don't know what kind of simulations we're running, but we should get in. That's weird because we're talking about Sims, but let's get into this 11-game slate. I'm operating on 6D chess right now, but let's get into this slate. Pittsburgh Penguins with a 3.2 total heading into Boston. The Bruins have a 3.3. Penguins going Raquel, Rust, Avery Hayes, Novak, Malkin, Chinnikov, Kindle, Brazeau, Mantha. Bruins going Lindholm, Pasternak, Kuznetsov, Middlestat, Zaka, Arvidsson, Mitten, Geeky, Esamont. I'll start on the Boston side just because it's generally easier. Don't really have interest in Boston 1 here at 16,800, 6.3% top 2, 7.1% projected ownership. They've been fine. Nothing spectacular. Like, for a top line for Pasternak, like, they've been scoring 3.6 goals per 60, which is good. They aren't creating a bunch, but Pasternak's kind of one of those guys who kind of breaks expected goals models, but he also is playing with Elias Lindholm and Marat Kuznetsov. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibilities that this is just what they are. This is a bad power play matchup for the Bruins. Penguins have a very good penalty kill. In a few games, Raquel, Rust, and Hayes, nothing spectacular defensively. It's only been 2 games. It's a small sample. They've been fine. They're very slow paced. That Bruins top line, fairly slow paced. So again, like, if you're going to do anything on Boston 1, it's probably just a Pastrnak one-off. He's always in play. He plays a ton of minutes. Probably has one of the higher projections on the night. For me, if I was going to do anything with Boston, it would probably be Boston 2 as a filler. 11,700, 0.8% top 2, 1.4% projected ownership. You know, they've been pretty good in a 300-plus minute sample. You know, 2.5 expected goals, 4 not great, but 3.7 actual. They get the middle 6 matchups of Pittsburgh, and while those lines are very good offensively on Pittsburgh's side, they are not very good defensively. So if I was MMEing Boston 2 and maybe even Boston 3 would be thrown into that MME pile for the Sims to let them do what they do and see if you get any. The Pittsburgh side is where I have more interest. And it's not really the top line. I just, listen, I hope Avery Hayes has a long, prosperous career. It's just this line in 2 games really hasn't done anything. I will say it is a very good power play spot, though, and you do get Raquel and Rust on the top power play. The line is coming in right at their top 2 at 4.6% projected ownership. Jake just gave us an update, by the way. Thank you, Jake. Or is it Ben Kindle up there, actually?
No.
Our top stacks has Ben Kindle, and I just had a heart attack. But that line is 15,000 even. You get Raquel and Rust on the top power play. I guess you could do some sort of power play stack like Raquel, Rust, Kindle for 15,400 if you wanted to. That's probably something I would do. But the second and third lines for Pittsburgh at 5-on-5.
Should say they did have morning skate and they did change the lines and put Kindle back on the top line. So, it's Kindle back. It's Kindle on the top line, then Avery Hayes between Mantha and Brazeau. Kevin Hayes between Mantha and Brazeau, Avery Hayes on the fourth line.
Okay, so out on the Kevin Hayes line. That makes that easier. Novak, Chinnikov, Malkin, 13,600, 5.6% top 2, 12.2% projected ownership. They've been excellent in 160 minutes. They get the middle 6 matchups of Boston. Very advantageous for them. That ownership is just ridiculous, especially when you can get a top line of the Penguins fully correlated right at their top 2 in a very good power play spot. So if that ownership holds and doesn't flip-flop throughout the day, I would have interest in a fully correlated Pittsburgh 1 that lets Rickard Rakell move back to the wing, or they could just do the JT Miller, Mika Zibanejad shenanigans where, whoever takes the face-off on either side is whatever. But it would be Pittsburgh 1 for me. Pittsburgh 2 is fine. That ownership is a bit rough considering that it's a great power play matchup and the top line's now fully correlated.
Yeah. I'll start on the Boston side. In general, I don't have a ton of interest on the Bruins. Over the course of the entire season, Penguins penalty kill second by goals against per minute. Only Chicago's been better. Over the last 5 weeks, they're first. So, this is a very bad power play spot for Boston. And one of the reasons why you might play the Bruins or stack the Bruins, particularly guys like Zaka or Elias Lindholm, is because they play with Pastrnak both. At least Lindholm does plays with Pastrnak both at even strength and the power play. Without a good power play spot, if this was a 6 or 7 game slate, I think that's one conversation. On an 11 game slate and single entry, I think it's just a pass. Like you said, went off Pastrnak, went off Victor Arvidsson, went off Gigi. Those types of things are okay. Not really interested in stacking. The Pittsburgh side is pretty interesting now that Ben Kindle is up there on the top line. One, because he's not very expensive, right? He's only 3,500. So that's 15,400 for the line. That's pretty cheap. And if you do want to fit in an expensive defenseman, you're looking to play a couple, 15K lines or whatever. If you want to play Quinn Hughes or Makari Yossi tonight or whatever. I think they are one of the lines that you'd want to consider. I'm interested to see what happens with the Pittsburgh power play. Kindle has gotten some top power play time. I think they've been using Mantha lately. The power play has been generally fine, regardless of who's healthy or who's injured. I think that's kind of the note here is that Pittsburgh's power play, sometimes you can see a power play fall apart when they trade one guy. Just look at Winnipeg. But that hasn't been the case with Pittsburgh, regardless if Crosby's healthy or Malkin's healthy or Rust is healthy or Raquel's healthy or whomever. So I do think Pittsburgh 1 is fine here. Honestly, for me, it's that Malkin line. I honestly just can't get away from them. They've just been so good together, right? Malkin, Chinnikov, Novak, 13,600. 4.7 expected goals, 4.5 actual goals per 60. That's in 160 minutes together, right? Like, that's about 20% of a season, and they've been nothing but elite offensively. And now that Kindle's on the top line, I imagine they're going to see whatever top pair matchups Boston wants to throw at them. So that means better secondary matchups for Malkin and company. They don't get a ton of ice time, particularly Chinnikov and Novak. Malkin will probably play 17, 18 minutes. But they don't really need to play a ton of ice time either. And, Tommy Novak, his last 15 games, he's got 12 points. You space that out over the course of a season, that's like a 65, 66 point pace. Obviously, Chinnikov's been great since he got there from Columbus. So for me, it's actually that Malkin, Chinnikov, Novak line. Just 13,600 with low ownership, great secondary matchups. That's kind of where I want to go. It's really the only interest in this game. Like, I think Kindle will be fine next to Rust and Raquel. I will note Rust and Raquel in limited minutes together this season without Crosby have been absolutely horrific. Rust is, you can make an argument Brian Rust is one of the worst defensive players in the NHL. And that concerns me when you have an 18-year-old center playing with him, even as good as Kindle's been this season. So I'll go with the line that has been really good together over a pretty big sample. Malkin and Novak have just been good together this season, regardless of who's the third wheel. It just happens to be Chinnikov right now. So for me, it's the Malkin line from Pittsburgh out of this game.
Yeah, I feel like ownership on these two lines are going to regress towards each other a little bit. So I think the Malkin ownership is going to come down. Kindle ownership is going to come up. I'm fine with that second line. Just like, yeah, maybe Kindle, Raquel, Rust aren't going to be great, but they're fully correlated, and Boston takes an absolute truckload of penalties. So where am I going here? Here we go. Nashville Predators with a 3 total. Heading into Columbus, the Blue Jackets have a 3.4. Nashville going Stamkos, O'Reilly, Marchessault, Haula, Evangelista, Forsberg. Columbus, after beating the Rangers in overtime last night without Zach Werenski, and the Rangers still squeaked a point. Big sads. They're probably going to run back Fantilli, Marchment, Marchenko, Monahan, Jenner, Heinen, Coyle, Sillinger, Olivier. O'Reilly, Stamkos, Marchessault. 4.6% top two, 4.4% projected ownership. It's a fully correlated line against a very porous PK. It is, unfortunately, like, I wish that Evangelista was on the top power play and that second line had both Forsberg and Evangelista on the top power play. Like, I guess Nashville one's fine. I just don't like them at 5 on. It's like similar to Pittsburgh, but like the ownership isn't as extreme. Like, I think just because they're fully correlated, I slightly prefer them. But that line of Hall, Evangelista, Forsberg's $300 less, a lower top two, half the ownership. Forsberg's been on a heater out of the break. He had played well in the Olympics as well. Evangelista has arguably been their best forward all season. They're going to at least avoid that Charlie Coyle line. But listen, Zach, we don't know if Zach Werenski is going to be back in. Merzlikins went yesterday. Jack Reeves is going today, the better goaltender by a mile on that team, but Bonus loves to play Merzlikins. Our best puck teams weep. But I have a hard time getting away from Nashville, too, if I was going to play Nashville, just because of the Evangelista Forsberg combo. So that's where I would go. I have no issues with Nashville 1 just because they're fully correlated in a very good power play spot. On the Columbus side, I think going back to Columbus 1 makes some sense here. 16,900, 6.8% top two, 7.5% projected ownership. They're going to see, the second middle six matchups. And the reason they broke up that Hall of Forsberg-Marchessault line is because they've been getting absolutely run over. I don't know how much I'm sure Evangelista is going to shore them up a little bit, but there's probably still going to be below average because Eric Hall just isn't a top six center in the NHL. So it's a pretty good matchup for Columbus. They're fully correlated. It is back-to-back for them, but, I think they're fine coming in right at their top two. I think the interesting line is Coyle, Sillinger, Olivier, 10,900, 1.3% top two, 2.7% projected ownership. They've been good. They're really the second line. They play heavier minutes than Monahan, Jenner. Riley, Stamkos, Evangelista were excellent defensively. You flip-flop Evangelista and Marchessault, they're probably going to regress a little bit. So for 10,900, get Coyle on the top unit. You don't have the full stack, just do a two-man. Coyle, Olivier, something like that. I think that is where I'd be as a filler, but it would be Nashville 2, Columbus 1 for me.
I have no interest in playing Nashville here. Marchessault's just been terrible this year, flat out. I have no idea why he's on the top line, showcasing him for a trade maybe.
Probably.
He shouldn't be in their top six, like flat out. And as good as Ryan O'Reilly is, Marchessault is going to drag that line down more than O'Reilly and Stamkos will elevate his game. So I'm out. And Nashville too, I guess they're fine. I don't have anything against playing them, but at $15K, there are a pile of lines in that price range that you can go play. We'll get to Washington in a second. Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh top line's not that far off. We'll get to Ottawa. There are just a lot of lines there. So I'm out on Nashville. On the Columbus side, I do think they have a couple playable lines. I would probably just go to Columbus 1 just because the Nashville, we talked about it yesterday. Columbus power play has been a lot better since they added Charlie Coyle to the top unit. The other is the Nashville penalty kill has been on a fairly steady slide. I was looking at their penalty kill since Christmas is in the bottom 8 of the league. I think that's 24, 25 games now. So, I'd rather have Zach Werenski running the power play than Ivan Provorov. So we'll see if Werenski's in for warm-ups. But Columbus 1 at 16,900 is very reasonably priced. They had a big game yesterday. Maybe it feels a little bit chasey, but I think it's a solid power play spot. Now, Columbus doesn't draw very many power plays. That's the one big problem. Second fewest power play opportunities in the league this season. Only Toronto with less. Fewest power play opportunities in the league over the last 5 weeks. So they might only get 1 or 2 power plays. That's kind of the issue. I would just go to Columbus. If you want to play that Olivier line, just because they do get minutes, you get Coyle on the power play. They've been good together. Not really worried about any of the Nashville matchups, especially the top line with Marchessault there. Like I said, he's going to make them worse more than the other two will elevate his game. So in that sense, I'm fine with the Olivier line as a stack. But for me in this game, it's Columbus 1, and that's probably it.
A couple things before we move forward. One, I saw a couple questions in chat. I didn't I changed the little offer code that Stokastic puts out. It is the NHL Sims core package, not the max, but it's still $7 for 7 days if you use promo code NHL Sims 7. So it's $7 for 7 days of the NHL Sims core package. Still very good deal. And we have a $25 super chat from Isaac. Definitely in our Discord. I've seen him a bunch. Just a go get him, Tiger message from him. Keep up the good work, fellas. Thank you for the super chat. We do appreciate the support.
Yeah, really do appreciate the super chat. Hopefully we can provide a little bit of good work and help you get a profitable night here tonight. We'll see. But thanks for the support. Certainly do appreciate it.
I'm going to put that up on the screen for a minute there just so you guys can see it. Vegas Golden Knights with a 2.8 total heading into Buffalo. The Sabres have a 3.2. Never thought that Buffalo would be favored at home against Vegas, but here we are. It is because Mark Stone is out. Vegas going Eichel, Barbashev, Bowman, Dorofeyev, Marner, Riley Smith, Hurdle, Kolasar, Sod. Buffalo going Thompson, Tuck, Krebs, McLeod, Zucker, Quinn, Norris, Doan, Ostlin. On the Vegas side, without Stone, like I don't really have interest in a Marner, Dorofeyev, Riley Smith line. Like Marner at the center, like he's fine defensively. They just aren't creating a ton offensively, so not really interested there. Hurdle line, not really interested. Eichel with Barbashev is fine, but without Mark Stone and you put Braden Bowman there, it's going to be a problem, right? Both of these top two lines are 15,100, under a 3% top two, almost no ownership. Like if you get some in the Sims for 20 to 150 max, fine, but I'm not super thrilled about Vegas here without Stone. Like the Eichel without Stone, the defensive numbers fall off, the offensive numbers fall off, the power play falls off a cliff. I think that's the most important one. The power play without Stone, even if it's a good power play matchup, the Vegas power play without Stone is a disaster. So I'm probably out. Well, I'm definitely out on Vegas skaters and single entry. If you happen to get some in MME through the Sims or whatever, cool. But single entry, I'm out. The Buffalo side is a little bit more interesting to me because without Mark Stone, these lines aren't as great defensively. And as much as I want to keep hating on Peyton Krebs, that top line actually has been really good. They've gotten a lot better since Krebs has gotten up there. They're going to be facing the Vegas top line without Stone, Barbashev and Bowman. Like Eichel and Barbashev probably have good defensive numbers together, but that's because most of them come with Mark Stone. So I don't have issue with Buffalo 1 here. I'm not worried about power play matchups here because Vegas just doesn't take penalties. So I think Buffalo 1 would be my favorite line, but I think the McLeod, Quinn, Zucker line also in play. They have been excellent in 250 minutes. I probably would just go in order. Buffalo 1's my favorite on Buffalo. The McLeod line, second favorite at 11,200. And then the Norris, Doan, Austin line at 10,300 would be the third. If you really need a cheap filler with two guys on the power play, I know I just said it's not a good power play matchup, but it counts for something when you're playing a line that cheap. But I would go in order: Buffalo 1, Buffalo 2, Buffalo 3, and then, maybe one-offs on Vegas, but I'm not super interested.
Yeah, your point about the Vegas power play, I think, is the important one here. If you look at Vegas's power play going back to the start of last season, when Mark Stone's out, and he's missed like 17 or 18 games this year. He missed 16 games last year, so we're talking about like a 35 game sample, give or take. Expected goals go way down. The goal scoring rate gets cut in half or more than half without Stone. Like, he is legitimately one of the better, I'd say, dual threat guys on the power play. Like, he can score, but he can also distribute extremely well. There are not a lot of guys who can honestly do that on a power play. So you're really only stacking these guys for the 5-on-5. And it's like, if I'm single entry on an 11 game slate, like if this would, again, this is another one of those things where it's like, if it's 6 or 7 games, that's one thing. An 11 game slate without one of the more important power play wingers in the NHL in the lineup, I think it's just kind of a pass for me. So like, I think I'm mostly out on Vegas. On the Buffalo side, that Buffalo third line is kind of interesting to me. Like, obviously they haven't played a ton together this year just because Josh Norris has been hurt. But, about 40 minutes together, 62 shot attempts per 60, like that's nothing to sneeze at. And, we always talk about the Buffalo power play. It's better with Josh Doan on it. You get Doan and Norris both on the top power play unit. They don't get a ton of ice time, but basically the same. Like, the second and third lines from Buffalo basically get the same amount of ice time. Like, Ryan McLeod will probably be third behind Thompson and Tuck, and it's just because McLeod kills penalties and sometimes plays at the end of games or whatever. Other than that, like Doan and Osland and Norris will play about as much as McLeod and Jack Quinn and those guys. So Buffalo 3, I think is kind of where my interest is in this game, because it's nice to have the two guys on the top power play unit, but they're not that expensive. Like you said, like once you get to the depth from Vegas, I don't think there's a lot to worry about without Stone, because they're starting to put guys out of place. So for me, my real interest in this game is Buffalo 3, using them as some sort of filler. Like, obviously they're not expensive. Josh Doan is down to 3,500. No, Osland is min price. Josh Norris is 4,300. Like, that line's just over 10K. So like, if you're playing expensive Colorado, expensive Dallas, expensive Tampa Bay, Minnesota, like there are a lot of expensive spots you might want to play here tonight. I think Buffalo 3 is one of the lines to consider. It is the line that I have the most interest in from this game.
It's pretty funny how our opinions change on Josh Norris when he's not centering Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson, and he's down on the bottom 6 and somewhere else. Florida Panthers, they 3 total. Heading into New Jersey, the Devils have a 3 total. Florida mixing up their lines. Uvis Belinskis also back in the lineup. I saw a stat yesterday that basically their season fell apart when Seth Jones got hurt. Like, they just have been awful without Seth Jones for whatever reason. I mean, he is a good player, not a great player, but a very good player. They're going Lundell, Lusterine, Reinhart, Rodriguez, Verhaeghe, Marchand, Bennett, Tkachuk, Samoskevich. Devils also mixed up their lines, I think. They're going to Hischier, Meyer, Mercer, Hughes, Brown, Grietzuk, and then Glass, Lenny, and Bratt. Classic Devils there. Had 3 pretty good lines. Now they just did stuff to them. They're just not great.
I mean, have they had one good line this year? I mean, I guess Cody Glass and Grietzuk.
Cody Glass, Grietzuk, and Lenny have been very good, but I'll start on the Florida side. Like, the only line getting ownership here is Lusteran and Lundell. Reinhart, 14,200, 3.4% top 2, 4.4% projected ownership. You only get Reinhart on the top power play. Obviously, he's a very important player. They're probably going to play the most minutes of any line here tonight, I would imagine. The Nico Hischier line with Mercer and Meyer just really haven't been great defensively. It is, I believe, Jacob Markstrom in net. Luke Hughes is back, which might make them worse defensively, honestly. So, like, if you want to go to that Florida top line, I think that's fine. They've been pretty good together this year, but I still have interest in Bennett, Tkachuk, Samoskevich at 16K even. They've been very good in 50-plus minutes. You do want to see that sample get a bit larger, but, Tkachuk looks like he's back in the swing of things. The issue, they don't play a ton of minutes, but Bennett and Tkachuk are on the power play. Devils' penalty kill hasn't been anything to be worried about. The power play has been pretty good with Belinskis and Tkachuk, so it would be Bennett, Tkachuk, Samoskevich for me. I have no issue going to Lundell, Reinhart, Luosterainen. I just, I worry that like Bennett, Tkachuk, Samoskevich, Rodriguez, Verhaeghe, Marchand, they're all going to play like 14, 15, 16 minutes or whatever. Bennett, Tkachuk get that power play boost to maybe get them a couple more minutes. That's why I prefer the second line to the third line. So it would be Florida 1, then Florida 2. Or excuse me, the Bennett line, then the Lundell line. On the Devil side, I guess it would be the Nico Hischier line. They're coming right in at their top 2 at 3.6%. At 14.8, I guess you could go to Hughes, Brown, Grietzuk. Like, I don't mind Hughes and Grietzuk together, but like Connor Brown in this spot is just not great. Like, Florida takes a ton of penalties, but they have a good penalty kill. So I don't really care about the power play matchup here. Like, anyone but Connor Brown, I think I would have been fine with it. So for me, I'd go to the Nico Hischier line and Florida 2.
Yeah, I'm with you on Bennett, Tkachuk, and Samoskevich. And while ice time has been up and down at times since they got back from the Olympic break. Sam Bennett's played 20 minutes a game. Matt Tkachuk's at 19:45. Even Sam Miskevich has been over 14 minutes a game. They stopped playing their fourth line. Remember, that was something they did last year where like everybody on the top three lines would play between like 14 and 21 minutes, and then the fourth line would play like 7. That's basically back to what they're doing. I mean, they have to. They have to win a ton of games to have a shot at just making the playoffs. Yeah. But the power play has been better. Obviously, like since Tkachuk got back, 13 games since Tkachuk's gotten in the lineup, 11.3 goals per 60 minutes. That's nearly double what it was before he got there for the top power play unit. A commensurate rise in the expected goals as well. So it's not just like a complete shooting percentage pinch or something. That the power play has been a lot better. I was happy to see Uvis at morning skate. Did not want Aaron Ekblad running that power play. So that Bennett, Tkachuk, Sam Miskevich line is where my interest would go. Like, I honestly don't care about the New Jersey matchups. I really don't care which 5 players are on the ice for the Devils. I don't think Bennett and Tkachuk have quite hit their stride yet at 5-on-5. They have looked better with Sam Miskevich. We'll see if they can keep it up. That would be the line I would go to. It's easily my favorite line in this game. Hughes, Brown, and Greatsuk is interesting from the perspective that is perfectly correlated. Not that I have a ton of interest in New Jersey lines these days, but a perfectly correlated line for under 14K at home for a team that is in a 3 total, playing a team that is amongst the most penalized in the NHL this season, that like those are just like a lot of check marks. So like if you are in the shopping, if you are shopping for one of those 13, 14, 15K lines, I think New Jersey too, the Jack Hughes line is perfectly fine. And listen, I hope Dougie Hamilton's still running things even with Luke Hughes back, running the power play. I mean, listen, with Dougie Hamilton on the top power play unit, that top power play is scoring almost 16 goals per 60 minutes this season. It's less than half that when he's not running it. So one of Nemec or Luke. So him being on the top power play does change their fortunes quite a bit, even if the 5-on-5 is still going to struggle. So if that line was 16,100, I would probably say like I'm not interested in anything on the New Jersey side. But the fact that they're under 14K and perfectly correlated in, if not a good power play spot, at least a spot where they should get a lot of power play opportunities with a power play defenseman that should actually be running the power play. So I think New Jersey 2 is fine here, but it is certainly Florida 2 have the most interest in this game.
Utah, Mammoth, 2.9 total. Heading into Washington, the Capitals have a 3.1. Slight changes to the Utah lines. They're going Schmaltz, Keller, Genther, Cooley, Peterka, Krause, Hayton, McBain, Yamamoto. Washington going Strome, Ovechkin, Beauvillier, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Protas, Wilson, Sordif, McMichael, Leonard. On the Utah side, this new fully correlated top line is 18,900, 4.5% top 2, 1.6% projected ownership. Any other slate, I'd be very interested in this line, fully correlated. They're going to be running into Dubois, Protas, Wilson. They have been an absolute buzzsaw this season when they've been together. I will say it is still a very good power play spot for Utah. The problem is Utah's power play is terrible. They need to put Logan Cooley back on the top unit. Then it starts getting a little bit good. So I'm saving this line for a different matchup at 18,900. I'm probably out on if you get a little bit because you think, they'll score a power play goal. Fine. I was really interested in playing Cooley, Genther, X because they were going to avoid the Dubois line. I guess Cooley, Krause, Peterka is a little bit interesting at 13.6. 1.2% top 2, 0.6% projected ownership. They're fully correlated on the second unit. Counts for something because that top unit has been bad. I would imagine that's an interesting line because Cooley's a very good playmaker and Peterka and Krause are shooters. There's good matchups. As long as you avoid the Dubois, Protas, Wilson line, you're in good matchups. I honestly don't mind Utah 2 as a filler at 13-6. No interest in the third line of Hayton, Yamamoto, McBain. On the cap side, it would be going right back to Dubois, Wilson, Protas at 14,400. They play pretty good minutes for that price. They're coming in with 3.2% top two, 3.9% projected ownership. The line with Schmaltz, Keller, and Krause was 2.8 expected goals against per 60, 1.65 actual. They were getting good goaltending behind them. We're kind of discussing this before the show. Genther probably keeps it around the same defensively, maybe makes it a little bit better offensively. But that Dubois, Wilson, Protas line in 77 minutes controls the play, 69 shot attempts per 60, 3.3 expected goals, 5.4 actual. They have been excellent. So it would be Washington 2 for me. I also don't mind Strome, Ovechkin, Beauvillier at 15-6, but the problem is in that price range, there's a lot of lines that I like better, and I'd rather just save the 1,200 and go to Washington 2.
Yeah, I'll be fairly quick on the Utah side. Like, it's just a bad matchup. You mentioned how good that Dubois line has been defensively this year, 2.1 expected goals against. And, like, I know Dubois missed a lot of time, but that line was great last year too, right? And, this roster's been pretty consistently the same from last year to this year. So it's a pretty bad matchup at 5-on-5 and Logan Thompson starting. Like, if it was Charlie Lindgren, I think it would be a conversation. But with Logan Thompson in a bad 5-on-5 matchup, it's just a pass. I think Utah too, like, I think they're playable. But I do like Logan Cooley quite a bit as well. But like Dylan Genther he's the guy, right? You know what I mean? Like I do think JJ Peterka is very good as well. I don't know. If I were to play anything from Utah, that would be the line that I would play. It'd be Utah 2. I'm probably just going to look elsewhere. On the Washington side, it's funny, like, the Washington second line, I think, is their best line. And it won't reflect that in top stacks just because you only get one guy on the top power play unit. But they've been tremendous at 5-on-5 this year, offensively as well as defensively. But offensively, 3.5 expected goals, 72 shot attempts per 60. They had monster scoring numbers last year as well. They've been playing minutes, right, since they came out of the break. Protas and Dubois around 18 minutes. Wilson over 20. Dubois has been getting some top power play time. The thing that sucks is, like, they've been kind of splitting it. I shouldn't say splitting it. It's like, if for whatever reason, if Wilson hasn't been able to play on the top power play, it's Dubois that takes a spot. It's not Dubois taking the place of Ryan Leonard. I mention it just because Utah takes a ton of penalties, or they have been. Last 5 weeks, most time shorthanded per game in the league. Over the course of the season, tied for the 8th most time shorthanded per game. We talk about how the Washington power play has been better with Ryan Leonard. Not great, but better. For that reason, I would probably go to the Ovechkin, Strome, Beauvillier line. Just because if Washington's going to get 3, 4, 5 power play opportunities here tonight, I want guys that are going to be on the power play. 15,600. Listen, I was looking at that Washington top line. Obviously, they had a great first 2 months and then have fallen off. But if you look at the offensive numbers, it's all shooting percentage driven, right? Like, since Thanksgiving, they're at 64 shot attempts, 3.6 expected goals per 60. That is extremely productive offensively, except for the scoring, which is at 2.4 goals. And, teams go through cold stretches all the time. But where Ovechkin, Strome, Beauvillier are, you get 2 out of the 3 on the top power play unit. They're not going to get heavy minutes, but they're going to get decent minutes, 15 to 17. Beauvillier maybe a little bit less. That's where my interest is in this game is Washington 1. I think if you want to take off Beauvillier and put on like Wilson or Leonard or something like that, that's perfectly fine. Make it more of a power play stack, but it is Washington 1 that I prefer in this game just because Utah has been taking so many penalties.
Chicago Blackhawks with a 2.5 total. Heading into Winnipeg, the Jets have a 3 total. Blackhawks going Bedard, Green, Burakovsky, Dickinson, Mikheyev, Bertuzzi, Nazar, Teravainen, Donato. Jets going Scheifele, Velarde, Connor, Lowry, Perfetti, Iafallo. This game annoys me. I'll start on the Chicago side. There really isn't much ownership here. I don't know why they took Donato off the Dickinson-Mikheyev line. They were really good offensively and really good defensively. You throw Bertuzzi on there, they become not great offensively. They become a little bit worse defensively. There's still no Josh Morrissey for the Jets. It is Connor Hellebuck in net. I don't know, man. Like, I guess it would be the Bedard line, but I don't really have a lot of faith in that. But the Bedard line's only 13,500. They're scoring at least, but they're not controlling the play. They're getting run over defensively. Lowry, Ifill, Perfetti have in 3 games or whatever they've been together have been excellent. So I don't know, man. I'm probably just out on the Blackhawks. The Jets side is a little interesting. That top line is 21,100, though. 18.4% top two, 13.6% projected ownership. They have positive leverage, but it's not a good power play spot. Chicago has one of the best penalty kills in the league. Spencer Knight's in net. They're kind of power play merchants. You know, they have pretty good numbers at 5-on-5. They're going to get decent 5-on-5 matchups, but if I'm spending 21,100, I also want a very good power play matchup, considering there are other big boys on this slate. So I'd probably reserve Winnipeg for 20 to 150 max. I guess you could take a stab at Lowry, Ifill, Perfetti. Keep doing that at 11,200 going out against the Bedard line. Bedard line sucks defensively. You do like a 2-man of Lowry, Ifill if you need super cheap, or Lowry, Perfetti for 8,100. That's probably where I'd be. I'd probably be on Winnipeg too. Don't really want to play Blackhawks.
Yeah, I'll start on the Winnipeg side. The Winnipeg top line, I mean, this doesn't have a lot to do with their offensive ability, but I was talking about it on Blue Sky earlier today. If you look at their minutes this season without Josh Morrissey on the ice, defensively, it is horrific. Like, they are getting their brains beat in defensively. Now, I say that when I ran the Sims before the show, the highest leverage player it gave me, which means exposure above projected ownership, was Kirill Marchenko. The second highest guy was Kyle Connor, 12.9%, 30% exposure, 17.1% ownership. So I bring that up just because I'm not super high on Winnipeg, just because, one, no Josh Morrissey, they're going to be worse offensively. Now, anything can happen in a single game. We saw Logan Stanley score twice in a game earlier this season. Weird things can happen. I'm not expecting that to happen. And it's a terrible power play spot. You mentioned the Chicago penalty kill. Third fewest goals against per minute over the last 5, or going back to Christmas on the penalty kill over the course of the season, fewest goals against per minute. Now, they did trade Connor Murphy. And Connor Murphy has been one of their few reliable defensemen, both at even strength and on the penalty kill. So that does concern me a little bit. It's like, if you take out Connor Murphy, put in like Ethan Del Mastro or something like that, all of a sudden there's a whole defense pair plus a penalty kill pair that might be worse. How much worse, I don't know. But I don't think this is going to be exactly the same team. But the fact that Winnipeg is so expensive, and you mentioned 21,100, like Colorado 1 is only $800 more expensive. Now, I know Colorado's on a back-to-back, but it's like, would I rather play Colorado or Winnipeg? Like, it's pretty easy for me. I mean, Edmonton's only $1,300 more expensive. Like, I think there are just other spots. Honestly, it's probably Winnipeg too, if anything. Like you mentioned, Lowry, Perfetti, and Alex Iafallo. Like, Lowry and Perfetti getting close to 100 minutes this season, 65 shot attempts, 3.2 expected goals, 3.2 actual goals. It's the only duo that's been able to put up any offensive numbers whatsoever in Winnipeg's depth. And where it's a bad power play spot, I'm not concerned about power play correlation. So if you want a two-man like Lowry and IFL or something like that, I think that's perfectly fine. That's my only interest from Winnipeg. I'm going to be honest, my interest is on the Chicago side. And it's because there's no Josh Morrissey. Listen, this defense group is, I was about to curse really loudly, I'm going to try not to, is effing terrible. Dylan Sandberg is a very good defenseman. Okay. He is a very good defenseman. He is probably like a number 2 defenseman in the NHL. I'm not sure they have another NHL defenseman on the roster besides him with Morrissey hurt. Maybe Pionk can be fine playing 16 minutes a game or something like that, but he's not going to. Maybe Dylan DeMello can be fine playing 15, 16 minutes a game with somebody who can kind of carry him, but he's not going to. This defense group it's worse than Chicago's. And the forward lines are not anything good defensively. So you put it all together, I would rather play the Blackhawks here tonight. It's just, what line do you want to play from Chicago? I know the Bedard line hasn't been able to control the play. At least they've been able to score goals. 2.7 expected goals, 3.5 actual goals per 60 in over 250 minutes together. The wingers won't play a ton, maybe 16 minutes, give or take, 16 to 17. Bedard will probably be 20 plus. What are they going to do? Put out Logan Stanley and Dylan DeMello against them? I would favor the Blackhawks in that matchup. Yes, Connor Hellebuck is the concern. Spencer Knight's also had a really good season at the other end as well. So, I'm going to be honest, it's Chicago 1 that I have interest in here. Chicago 2, I think they're playable just because of the power play correlation, right? That Chicago second line with Frank Nazar and Tuvo Teravainen, you get a couple guys on the top power play unit, and it's not like Winnipeg's penalty kill has been basically league average this season. So, if you want to play Chicago 2, I think it's fine. But for me, it's Chicago 1 I am interested in this game. You want to take out Green and put in Teravainen for some power play correlation or something like that, I think that's fine. Teravainen's only 34. He's only $300 more expensive than Ryan Green. So and he's been playing 18 to 19 minutes a game since they came out of the Olympic break. So if you want to do Burakovsky, Bedard, Teravainen or something like that, I think that's fine. But it's Chicago 1 that has my interest in here. And I guess Winnipeg 2 is fine if you need a filler stack.
Ottawa Senators with a 3.2 total. Heading into Edmonton, the Oilers have a 3.4. Ottawa going Stützle, Batherson, Giroux, Cousins, Kachuk, Grieg, Pinto, Amadio, Cousins. Oilers going McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, Draisaitl, Podkolzin, Kapanen. Because, why not? This is a brutal 5-on-5 matchup for Edmonton. Now, I will say that McDavid is matchup proof, and this line with Nugent Hopkins and Hyman has 4.42 expected goals per 60 at 5-on-5. So honestly, and it's a good power play matchup. I know Ullmark has looked good in his last 5 to 10 games, and that's definitely a big thing for Ottawa. But this Edmonton line is matchup proof. It is a very good power play spot. Edmonton has a very good power play. I would much rather play Edmonton than Winnipeg. The question is, do you want to play Colorado over Edmonton? And I think it's a legitimate question because Colorado, despite being back-to-back on the road, is in an elite spot on the power play and at 5-on-5. So, I think if I was spending up over 21K, I much prefer Edmonton and Colorado to Winnipeg. It's just a question of, if I'm going up there, do I want to play Edmonton or Colorado? I think, if you're going to do something else with Edmonton, you could just go McDavid, Draisaitl again, put in Podkolzin or something. Their worst, quote unquote, worst defensive line is Cousins, Kachuk, Grieg, and they're 2 expected goals against per 60 in 127 minutes. This is a disgustingly good team at 5-on-5. So I would eminently focus on the power play guys here. And I think if you want to go Edmonton 1, that's fine. Going McDavid, Draisaitl's fine. Just a question of if in single entry, would you rather play Edmonton 1 or Colorado 1? That's a question you have to answer for yourself. On the Ottawa side, I think there's a couple interesting lines here because Stützle, Batherson, Giroux, they're going to see a fair bit of that McDavid line. While that McDavid line has been very, very good offensively, they are not very good defensively. And Stützle, Batherson, Giroux have been pretty good offensively in 100 minutes, 2.9 expected goals per 63 actual. I think at 14,200, it's a little bit more expensive than the filler, but it is a line I would be interested in. But again, favorite line on the Senators, Cousins, Tkachuk, Grieg. They have been excellent on 127 minutes, 3.3 expected goals, 3.8 actual. Maybe they don't see great 5-on-5 matchups, but they're still shooting on Connor Ingram. They're shooting on a goaltender that has the Oilers emblem on it. So I do like Ottawa too. I think Ottawa 3 is a filler here tonight, 10K even. They've been nasty at both ends of the ice. I don't think that, if they see a lot of that Henrique line with Curtis Lazar and Josh Szymanski, like they won't have any issue with that. So I don't think you need a full stack. Do like a Pinto Amadio for 7K, let you get in expensive stuff elsewhere. So it would be Ottawa 2, Ottawa 1, Ottawa 3 on the Ottawa side, Edmonton 1, Edmonton power play.
Yeah, I'm not playing the Oilers. I say it all the time. Very, very rarely in a single entry, very rarely will play a super expensive line on a slate this big, and at 22,000 plus against probably the best defensive team at 5-on-5 in the NHL.
They are. By expected goals, they are.
Yeah, and Linus Ullmark, you mentioned it. He's looked considerably better since he came back from the Players Assistance Program. I was looking at the Sens penalty kill since Ullmark took his leave of absence, which was the very first day when they came back from the Christmas break. So since December 27th, the Sens penalty kill has been league average. Now, league average isn't great, and Edmonton can absolutely still shred that, but it's not the penalty kill that it was back in October and November, especially when Ullmark was struggling. And so you put that together with a great defensive team at 5-on-5, and the fact that this line is over 22,000. If it was a good power play matchup, then you'd probably have to get both McDavid and Draisaitl in at that point, right? And then obviously that's super expensive. And then it's who do you add in after? Do you put in one of the cheap wingers, or do you add in Hyman? Do you put Bouchard on the blue line? Like, if again, this is another one of those spots, 6-7 game slate. That's one conversation. 11 game slate. I'm just out on Edmonton. My interest is on the Ottawa side. It's not as if the Edmonton Oilers, a great defensive team over their last. I was looking. In fact, when I was looking at the penalty kill stuff for Ottawa, I noticed that Edmonton's goals against per minute in that same time frame is 22nd in the NHL. That's not what you want to see. I'm not worried about any of the 5-on-5 matchups. I agree with you. I'd probably just go to Tkachuk, Cousins, and Grieg at 15,500. They were at 2.9% top two stack. They've just been generating pretty much at will. Over 125 minutes together, 70 shot attempts, 3.5 expected goals, 3.9 actual goals. I don't know if you have to leave in Grieg. And, it's not like Edmonton's penalty kill has been very good. I was looking at the Oilers' penalty kills. Since Christmas, the Oilers are giving up the 4th most goals against per minute in the league on the PK over the course of the season, the 6th most. So, this is a pretty good power play spot for Ottawa as well. If you want to do like a Tkachuk, Cousins, Batherson, I think something like that's fine. Tkachuk, Cousins, Stützle, and Stützle, Batherson, Tkachuk. I would certainly have Tkachuk in there. It is Ottawa 2 that I have interest in this game. I think Ottawa 1 is perfectly fine. Like, if you do need the cheaper line, I don't have anything against them. I'm not worried about any of the matchups from the Edmonton side. I think for me, Ottawa 2, go get that Darnell Nurse matchup, and hopefully they can take advantage of it.
Dallas Stars with a 2.9 total. Heading into Calgary, the Flames have a 2.7. Stars won big last night. They're going to run back Johnson, Robertson, Bork, Duchesne, Steele, Ben. Flames going back on Sharangovich, Coronado, Kadri, Farabee, Adam Klapka. Frost, Greedon, Blake, Coleman. I don't have a ton of interest in this game. Like, I know the Flames aren't a great team, but they are fairly good defensively. They have a pretty good penalty kill. Dallas back-to-back on the road. The top line on Dallas is 18,600, coming in with a little bit of negative leverage, 11.1% top two, 12.1% projected ownership. If this was a better power play matchup, I would probably have interest, but you can still get there in MME. They have been excellent in 114 minutes together. It's just, the back line's been about league average defensively in a pretty large sample. Kadri, Farabee together have been fairly good defensively somehow. Frost, Greed, and Coleman have been somehow good defensively as well. So, if you want to get to them, even in like 5 to 10 lineups, I'm fine with one of them, but it's more of an MME play. Second line is a filler. Fine, 11,400. You get two guys on the top power play unit, sure. But I really am not super high on Dallas here tonight. Same for the Flames. Both the back line and the Kadri line are basically coming in double their top two. Casey DeSmith is in net. He's been their better goalie for a year and a half now. If anything, it would be Kadri and Farabee, but I'm not running out to play the Flames here.
Calgary Flames on an 11-game slate playing one of the best teams in the league with a pile of negative leverage. That's just a big old Family Feud giant red X on the screen. So out on Calgary. Like, I do think Dallas does have two playable lines. I'm not worried about any of the matchups really coming back from Calgary. More worried about Dustin Wolf. That Dallas top line they've been generating a lot. They haven't been scoring. They're up to 130 minutes and 4.1 expected goals, but 0.9 actual because they're shooting like 2.5%. Back-to-back on the road against us and Wolf. I'm not sure it's going to get a whole lot better. But, Bork and Johnston have been playing 19 to 20 minutes a game since the Olympic break. Robertson over 21. That includes not playing a whole lot last night in that blowout. So, I think Dallas 1 is perfectly fine. Like, there's a line that we'll talk about later that's in that price range that I would rather play. So that's why I don't have a ton of interest in Dallas 1. I think I don't have anything against them. Like you said, if you get one or two of them in a 20 max or something like that, or you have one of them in a 5 max, like, okay, but that's probably it. Dallas 2, I think Dallas 2 is a perfectly fine filler here. Duchesne, Ben, Steele. They're up over 60 minutes together. That 3.6 expected goals, 66 shot attempts per 60. Like, I know Duchesne's been in and out of the lineup. He's been hurt this season. Some of his playmaking numbers aren't great, but a lot of Duchesne's tracking data, like his zone entry stuff, is really, really strong this year. And I don't know what it is after last night, but I looked yesterday morning and Jamie Benn was 11th in the NHL in points per 60 minutes at 5-on-5, like up there with like Kaprizov and Mark Stone. It's just that he only plays 14 minutes a game, right? But now that he has top power play time, I think there's something to that. So for me, I honestly think it's Dallas 2, using them as a filler. Like, if you are playing, we'll get to Tampa Bay later. If you are playing like a Minnesota or Winnipeg or something like that, I think Dallas 2 is one of those lines you can consider. It's the only line I have interest in this game.
Before we get to the final 3 late games here, if you're just joining us, we do have a flash sale. The offer is valid for today only. You get the NHL Sims Core Package for $7 for 7 days. Use promo code NHL Sims 7. You go to stokastic.com/pricing. That promo code tracks our signups. It supports us directly, so we do appreciate it. Stokastic.com/pricing. Tampa Bay Lightning with a 3.2 total. Heading into Minnesota, the Wild have a 2.9. It is unclear whether Tampa is going to go 12-6 or 11-7 because I believe they recalled Connor Geekie.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see there. But as of now, their point Gensel, Bjorkstrand, Sorelli, Hagel, Kucherov, Wild going Hartman, Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Joe Eriksson, Ek, Boldy, Johansson. I'll start on the Wild side. Not overly enthusiastic about the Wild here. It would be Hartman, Kaprizov, Zuccarello at 18,700, 6.2% top two, 3.1% projected ownership, just because they've been very good at 5-on-5. Kaprizov plays an absolute truckload of minutes. I do worry that they're going to see, some Cirelli and Hagel. It's not a good power play matchup. They're MME only. I'd probably throw them into the same pool as Dallas 1, but it would be Minnesota 1 over Minnesota 2. I think Minnesota 2 is fine at 16-8, but I prefer the top line. It's what to do on the Tampa side, because that top line as it is, Point, Gensel, Bjorkstrand, is fully correlated against a really bad Minnesota penalty kill, but you can't leave Nikita Kucherov off some sort of power play stack. And if they go 11-7, you're going to see Kucherov just play with everybody. So I would do something like Point, Gensel, Kucherov. Even if they go 12-6, Bjorkstrand may only play 13 minutes. He's going to be in that Gonçalves and Dominic James role where he's on the top line but plays 13, 14 minutes. So I think there's two ways here. You just go Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov because they've been nasty together. But I want to get more power play guys in, so I probably just do like Point, Kucherov, Gensel. That is like $23K and change, which is extremely pricey, and that's the problem, right? So even Kucherov, Cirelli, Hagel on its own is 21,800 on the road. So maybe you just one off Kucherov, you one off Jake Gensel, something like that. When you're talking about 23 and change for a power play stack, I'll just go play Colorado 1. You know what I mean? So I would find a way to get Kucherov in the lineup. Maybe you go like Kucherov, Bjorkstrand, Gensel or something like that to save some money. But it would be the power play guys. If they do go 12-6, and we won't know, which is the problem, I don't have an issue going Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov, but I prefer to get the power play guys in.
Yeah. I think one big note for Minnesota is getting Jonas Brodin back tonight, right? Because while the Minnesota penalty kill has struggled this season, generally speaking, since Christmas, they are 14th by goals against per minute. So around league average, a little bit better. And Jonas Brodin, if you look at the regular penalty killing defenseman, by far the lowest goals against, also the lowest expected goals against on the penalty kill. Like, he has been their best defenseman on the PK. So a league average penalty kill over the last, 20 some games, getting back the best penalty killer, like that does concern me a little bit from a Tampa perspective. That Kucherov, Hagel, Cirelli line has been unbelievable at 5-on-5 this season. 4.8 expected goals, 5 actual goals per 60 minutes. I do like that line a lot at 21,800, but it's 21,800 on the road with the team getting back probably their best defensive defenseman. It's like Carolina getting back Slavin. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like, it kind of changes the complexion of that blue line. And of course, Quinn Hughes is there. So it's a lot better than it was 3 months ago. But 21,800, like, I don't know. We'll get to Colorado in a second. I like Winnipeg, Edmonton, Tampa Bay, all these super expensive lines. I'd just rather play Colorado. So I'm out on Tampa. On the Minnesota side, the top line's at 3.3 expected goals for per 60 since Quinn Hughes got there, which is really good. The second line is also at 3.3 expected goals for per 60 since Quinn Hughes got there. Joel Eriksson Ek has been a point per game player over the last 26 games, which I think dates back to Quinn Hughes' first game with the Minnesota Wild. Obviously, we know how good Matt Boldy can be. So I do think Minnesota does have two playable lines here. 16,800 kind of interests me for Minnesota too, and this is why. I'm not super concerned about power play correlation or getting Kaprizov in this matchup, just because it is a very bad power play matchup for Minnesota, right? Like you mentioned, the Tampa Bay penalty kill, top 10 in the league over the last 5 weeks, top 5 in the league over the course of the season. the Minnesota power play has been better with Quinn Hughes, but not elite. Minnesota too, it is very reasonably priced at 16,800. They're going to. I mean, they're going to get some shutdown matchups. I don't know how much. I'm not super concerned one way or another from the Tampa side because Braden Point without Kucherov is a mess. And the second line with Kucherov is going to be worse defensively. So I'm not worried about any of the 5-on-5 matchups. 16,800 is a pretty reasonable price, especially for a line that's going to come in with like low single-digit ownership. Minnesota, too, is my interest in this game. I don't think I'm going to stack anything out of this game. I just think it's kind of a bad matchup for both sides.
Colorado Avalanche with a 3.5 total. Heading into Anaheim, the Ducks have a 3.1. Colorado running back McKinnon, Landeskog, Netchus, Nelson, Colton, Nishushkin, Drury, Olofsson, Brindley. I think that's how they finished yesterday. Ducks.
I mean, they had a ton of different line combinations. I think once after Lehkonen got hurt, all of Ross Colton, Victor Olofsson, and someone else. I forget who, but there was 3 different guys. Parker Kelly. So Parker Kelly, Ross Colton, and Victor Olofsson all had multiple shifts on that second line after Lehkonen got hurt.
Ducks with new lines at skate just a little bit while ago. They're going Carlson, Kreider, Gauthier, Paling, Killorn, Seneca, McTavish, Viel, Harkins. I'm hoping they're not putting Paling, Killorn, Seneca together to go out against top competition, but you never know with Joel Quenneville. Either way, on the Ducks side, it would be Carlson, Kreider, Gauthier, 17,200, 4.4% top 2, 3.8% projected ownership. They're fully correlated, whether it's a good power play spot or not. Probably not. But if they do see that McKinnon, Netchus, Landeskog line, they have been very poor defensively. 3.6 expected goals against, 0.99 actual. They've gotten absolutely ridiculous goaltending in front of them. It is Wedgwood, not Blackwood. In net, Wedgwood has been great this year, not as good as Mackenzie Blackwood. It would be the Ducks' top line here. No real interest in a Paling, Killorn, Seneca line or McTavish, VL. Colorado, I know they're all the different Colorado lines. I'm just going to Colorado 1 here. If I'm spending up, they're my favorite line above 21K. It's a great power play spot. I'm not worried about any of the matchups at 5-on-5. They're coming in. What did I just do here? There we go. They're coming in 20.6% top 2, 16.6% projected ownership, some positive leverage. McKinnon's going to be heavily owned as always, but the power play is better with Landeskog. Colorado 1's my favorite line above 21K. Great power play spot. I don't know what else to say. I think, you don't really know what the second and third lines are going to be outside of Nelson and the Shushkin. So taking all the guesswork out, I'm just going to Colorado 1.
Yeah, if I were to play one of those super expensive lines here tonight, the Winnipeg, Edmonton, Tampa, whatever, it is Colorado. They have the highest top 2 stack on the night. I know they're playing back-to-back. They were in Los Angeles last night. It's not like they had far to go. If there is a top line in this league where I'm not super concerned about conditioning on a road back-to-back, it is a Nathan McKinnon top line. And they're going to play, obviously they're going to play a ton of minutes, since coming back from the break. I mean, especially now that they have, now that Arturi Lehkonen's out, they're not going to have, that second line that they're going to be able to lean on. Since coming back from the break, McKinnon's played 23 and a half, and then 21 minutes last night. He's still getting a ton of ice time. And going back to Christmas, just again, because I was looking at penalty kill numbers at all strengths, Anaheim Ducks dead last in the NHL by expected goals against per 60. So you have a very poor defensive team, a great goalie, love those style, but a very poor defensive team with Nathan McKinnon and company in town. Yeah, Colorado 1 is the expensive line I'd want to play tonight. I'm not sure I am going to play them. If you want just one off McKinnon, I think something like that is perfectly fine here. But if I'm playing the Avs, it's the top line. If I'm playing an expensive line, it's the top line. On the Anaheim side, it is Anaheim 1 that I do like best. And listen, Carlson and Cutter have been very good together when they've been able to actually play together. 67 shot attempts, 4.1 goals per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. I think they're going to get the shutdown matchups. I don't imagine they're going to put out Ryan Poehling and Beckett Seneca, though you never know. I got to think it's going to be Leo Carlson. But, they've been playing all those guys on the top line, like you said, perfectly correlated. It's not a good power play matchup. The Avs have a great penalty kill. But they are perfectly correlated. They are playing 18 to 20 minutes a game. Leo Carlson has 11 shots and 5 points in 3 games since coming back. I think a lot of the young Anaheim guys, like I know people like to say the 3-week Olympic break probably helped a lot of veterans, the guys around 30 years old or older, give them some rest during the season. I also think it helps a lot of the younger guys, like guys that are just coming out of college hockey or whatever, that are used to playing 40 or 50 games over 5 months. And all of a sudden they had to play, 55 games in 4.5 months or something like that of NHL hockey night in and night out. Like, I do think the young guys like Carlson and like Gauthier and like Seneca and all them, Zellweger and Mintyukov are going to benefit from the layoff and being able to rest up until they get acclimated to a full 82-game season year after year. But that's neither here nor there. It is the Anaheim top line at 17,200. Colorado's top line has struggled defensively for a long time now, and they're starting to leak some goals against. I think Anaheim 1 is obviously very, very playable in any format here, but I think Colorado 1 is the best line of the night.
Let's get to the main event of the evening. Montreal Canadiens with a 3.4 total. Heading into San Jose, the Sharks have a 3.1. Of course, Cliffy's a Habs fan, and of course, the Sharks waited until they played the Habs to move Dmitry Orlov back onto the top power play unit. But the Sharks did mix up their lines a little bit here. Let's talk about it. Montreal going Suzuki, Caulfield, Doc, Kapanen, Slavkovsky, Demidov. Sharks going Celebrini, Will Smith, Colin Graf, Wenberg, Sherwood, Kurashev, and then Misa, Eklund, Toffoli. Toffoli's now on the top power play unit over Kiefer Sherwood, and Orlov is running the top unit over Klingberg. This is a double good power play spot. There's a couple things that I would want to do here, and it involves power play stacking. On the Montreal side, it is absolutely some sort of power play stack. Go Suzuki, Caulfield, you can leave off Doc, add in Slavkovsky or Demidov, go about your day. You want a 5-man power play stack, go for it. It is Askarov in net, but like Dostal, miserable defensive team in front of him. Yeah, I mean, listen, you go Demidov, that top line becomes 18-4. You do Slavkovsky, it becomes 18-8. So you're under 19K for a 3-man power play stack in arguably one of the best power play spots on the board. Montreal's power play has been very good. You could just 5-man stack them, go about your day. I guess Montreal 1's fine with Kirby Doc there at 16-6 because they're coming in with positive leverage, but, and they're scoring. But Kirby Doc really doesn't do too much for me, so I'm definitely turning into some power play stack. The Sharks side, they broke up Sherwood, Smith, Celebrini, fully correlated because they weren't scoring, but they're actually really good. That was the first time in the history of Macklin Celebrini that Celebrini had a line that was controlling the shot share. Now they move Colin Graf up there for reasons I don't really know. I'm leaving Colin Graf off and adding in Wenberger to Foley here to make it a power play stack. I have a hard time stacking the Sharks here in single entry without Celebrini. Like, it is the one non-negotiable if I'm playing Sharks in single entry. Celebrini is going to be in the lineup. That being said, if I was 20 to 150 maxing, the line of Misa, Eklund to Foley is interesting to me just because In their last game, they played all around 15 minutes. Now Toffoli gets the top power play bump. They're going to get bottom six matchups from the Habs. They really want to see what they have with Misa. Misa and Eklund on the second unit, Toffoli on the top unit. They're 12K even with almost no ownership. If I was 20 to 150 maxing, I would find a way to get a little bit in MME, but on both sides, it's absolutely some sort of power play stack.
Yeah. There's not really, like, once you get past the Suzuki line, there's not really a matchup that concerns me if I'm playing the Sharks here. So I do think that Misa line with Misa, Toffoli, and Eklund is fairly interesting. I was looking at Misa and Eklund together this season, 70 shot attempts, 2.9 expected goals, 3.6 actual goals per 60 in 85 minutes together. That's really, really good. And like, Misa is an extremely highly touted prospect. So you get that line out against the depth for Montreal, which are all below average defensively, and some of them considerably below average defensively. That seems pretty good to me. And, you only get Tyler Toffoli on the top power play unit, but I'd be perfectly fine doing like Misa, Toffoli, Eklund, and then adding in Celebrini. Like, I'm not playing the Sharks without him. Like, on an 11-game slate, I'm not stacking the San Jose Sharks without Celebrini. So if you want to do the Misa line plus Celebrini, I think that's something like that is perfectly fine. If you want to do like Smith, Celebrini, and then add in, one of the power play guys, add in Toffoli, add in Wenberg. Wenberg's only 3,500. It's still a reasonable stack. So, obviously Celebrini is a focal point. I think one of the two ways I would go about it is either do Smith, Celebrini, X, whether you want to leave Groff there, move up to Wenberg, make it more of a power play stack. Like, listen, San Jose over the last 5 weeks has been drawing the most power plays in the league at 3.6 per game. Over the course of the whole season, they are drawing the second most power plays in the NHL. Montreal takes a ton of penalties. They are one of the most penalized teams in the NHL this year. And the San Jose power play has been markedly better with Dmitry Orlov running it as opposed to John Klingberg. So I agree with you. I would try to get some power play guys in, whether it's, doing Smith, Celebrini, and then just leaving Groff there, or Smith, Celebrini, add in Toffoli, or add in Wenberg. I honestly think you can just make it a straight up power play stack. Like, listen, Dmitry Orlov is only 2,900. Alex Wenberg's only 3,500. Tyler Toffoli's under 5K. Like, these aren't expensive players. So I think you can just do San Jose power play stack if you want, honestly. Really do like the Sharks here. On the Montreal side, like, the top line for sure, but I think I agree with you. I would take off Doc and put in one of Slafkovsky or Demidov. San Jose penalty kill, basically league average this season by goals against per minute. They do take their fair share of penalties as well. Over the last 5 weeks, they're worse than league average by time shorthanded per game, tied for the 8th most time shorthanded per game in the league this year. So it would be like Suzuki, Caulfield, Stokastic, Suzuki, Caulfield, Demidov. One of those trios is what I would do with Montreal, but I honestly think I like the San Jose side better.
Let's talk about defensemen here. The points projections are a little bit out of whack here, but Cliffy has the other ones, I believe. Top of the board, 6K and up, we have Werenski, Hughes, Makar, Yossi, Bouchard, Radish, Chikrin, Dahlin, Miro Heiskanen. I know Jake Sanderson's 5,800, but we are contractually obligated to say Jake Sanderson at least 4 times because we love him. If Werenski plays, I think he's probably at the top of the board. We don't have a projection for him right now, but we won't know until warmups. Outside of him, if I had to play defenseman, it would probably be Jacob Chikrin at 6,300 against Utah. Utah takes a ton of penalties. Jacob Chikrin, a focal point of that power play. He just shoots the puck at 5-on-5 a ton as well. I think Roman Yossi is a fine play. Obviously, Kale McCarr is in a very good spot. But for me, if Werenski plays, he's one. Otherwise, I'd go to Chikrin, Yossi, McCarr. I think Rasmus Dahlin's also fine.
Yeah. The highest projected defenseman on the board is Jacob Chychrun, of the expensive defensemen. He also has the highest point per dollar value. I imagine he's going to carry quite a bit of ownership, but no John Carlson, so he gets lots of ice time. He's on the top power play. I do love Chychrun. I think Darren Radish is kind of interesting. Even with the San Jose lineup healthy, he's still playing basically 24, 25 minutes a game. I do think that's worth something against Minnesota, even if Brodin's back. Rasmus Dahlin has the second highest point per dollar projection for the expensive defenseman. So I would go with Chychrun, Radish, Dahlin, 1 through 3 for me amongst the expensive guys. The mid-price range is pretty interesting to me because I do think both top Montreal defensemen, Hudson and Dobson, are both in play. Hudson for me would be the guy that I would put into, like if I'm playing Suzuki, Caulfield, Demidov, let's say, as a 3-man stack, then I'd probably put in Hudson. If I just need like a mid 5K defenseman to one-off, it's probably Dobson. Jake Sanderson under 6K, very interesting. Dougie Hamilton, like Luke Hughes coming back sucks because it's probably going to cut into Hamilton's ice time, but Dougie running the top power play unit is against a team that takes a ton of penalties is certainly interesting. In the mid-price range, like 4 to 5K, the two guys that stand out to me are Jacob Trouba and Thomas Chabot. Like Anaheim against Colorado just kind of screams like 5 block shots for Jacob Trouba. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying he's going to have 5, but it's one of those things like if I wake up and it's like he had 3 shots and 5 blocks, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. So Trouba and Chabot in the mid-price range. Under 4K, like Uvis, I think if you're playing any sort of Florida stack, Uvis Balinskis makes some sense. Dylan Sandberg, like I said, I'm not super high on the Jets here tonight. But Sandberg, his 3 games post-Olympics without Morrissey in the lineup, 22 minutes, 23 and a half minutes, 24 minutes. So I do like Sandberg. If Werenski's out, Ivan Provorov ran the power play last night. That's worth something. Devin Taves still at a reasonable price in what should be a high-paced matchup against Anaheim. Bowen Byram projecting very well for 3K. Under 3K, like the Chicago defensemen are interesting to me because Connor Murphy is out. They called up Ethan Del Mastro. It looks like Del Mastro is going to play. He's mid-price. Louis Crevier, I believe, is the highest projected defenseman. But Artem Levshunov is 2,800 on the top power play, assuming Sam Rinzel doesn't play, and it doesn't look like Rinzel's going to play. So Levshunov at 2,800. Denton Mateychuk, again, you know, Provorov might be running the top power play for Columbus, but Mateychuk played 21 minutes last night with no Werenski in the lineup. And with Carlson out, Martin Fairbury kind of stands out to me for the Capitals. 3 games post-break with no Carlson. He's played 21 minutes, 22, 21 and a half. That's not bad for under 3K.
Yep. Let's talk about goaltenders here. In the top range, there's, you know, Hellebuck at the top of the board at 8,400. Without Morrissey, maybe he sees more shot volume, but he may give up more goals. Honestly, my favorite in the top range, Jack Reeves and Casey DeSmith. Casey DeSmith, he's been better than Jake Ottinger going back to last season. Jack Reeves, easily the better Columbus goaltender. Nashville put Marchessault on the top line. It's going to make them worse. Right under 8K, you have Vasilevsky and Alex Lyon at 7,900. I think I prefer Lyon against Vegas without Stone. I think Vasilevsky's fine. In the mid-range, like Stu Skinner at 7,600 is all right. I think Dustin Wolf is okay at 7,400. And then, you know, getting down to the nitty-gritty, I think it would be Spencer Knight at 7K against Winnipeg without Morrissey.
Yeah, the top projected goalie, think about this. An 11-game slate, Buffalo's playing Vegas, and the top projected goalie by fantasy points is Alex Lyon for Buffalo, and top point per dollar value as well. So, yeah, Alex Lyon absolutely stands out. The other 2 goalies I had were DeSmith and Greaves, 8,000, 8,100. I think they're both in solid matchups, could have good nights. but they're both more expensive than line, so I'd probably just play line, but I do think they're very much in play. For the cheaper goalies, like, listen, I don't think the lower range is really a good spot. Like, typically there are cheap goalies that I really do like, but it's like, I think Lucas Dostal for me stands out just from a shot volume perspective. It's like maybe he gives up 3 goals, but hopefully it's on like 41 shots or something like that facing Colorado. Askarov at home is kind of interesting to me at 7,200, but I'd honestly rather just save the $100 and go play Dostal instead. You mentioned Spencer Knight. With no Josh Morrissey, I think Spencer Knight at 7K to me makes more sense than playing Askarov or probably even Dostal here. So for me, it's Askarov, Dostal, Spencer Knight, Dostal, Askarov in that order for the super cheap guys.
We will be back on Thursday. As always, we have that flash sale. It's only valid today, $7 for 7 days of the NHL Sims Core Package. Promo code NHLSIM7, stokastic.com/pricing. We will see you on Thursday, but who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
I'm going to go Frank Nazar.
That's out there. I wish someone was playing Toronto so I could pick someone from that team, but I'm going to go Drake Batherson.
Okay.
We'll see you on Thursday, everybody. If you still don't have the Sims, promo code NHL Sims7, and we'll see you in the Discord tonight. Good luck, everybody.
Good luck tonight, everyone.